Hello, everyone, and welcome back to MSA. Seems we've been gone for a few days, had a little bit of technical difficulties, but from this point out, I guarantee you're going to be getting more and more videos every day from us. We've got a lot of things to talk about. Today's hot topic happens to just be the FBI sticking their hands into places that they don't belong. I understand terrorism. We all do. We understand a lot of things. But what they've been doing, and here's a little bit of proof, we're going to roll a clip and show you, it's not right. Okay, it doesn't make sense, as we would say. So, before we get into all that, like, share, and subscribe. It helps us out. You know we're trying to grow. You can see we're a smaller channel. We need a little bit of your assistance to keep going. We got a lot of things to talk about, so let's get into it together. You ready? The clip we're going to show you is Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, and she is pretty heated and has a panel of people in front of her that worked for Twitter. And she wants to know what happened with her account. She wants to know if the FBI has been censoring, have they been reaching in, have they actually been working at Twitter? You're going to hear her asking quite a few different questions in there. The irony of this whole thing is when people have the audacity to say, I don't recollect, not to the best of my knowledge, things of that nature. Hey, we should make it a rule that you have to say yes or no because you're under oath and you have to stand on that. Because this is talking about national stuff. We're not talking about, do you like French fries? Oh, well, I kind of do. No, we're talking about, did you participate in things that are actually going against our constitutional rights? Are you doing things to harm Americans? Are you censoring people? Are you doing election fraud? What are you doing? There's too much of this going on. So we're going to go ahead and roll this first clip. I want you to see what Congresswoman Boebert has to say about this. So, see you in a minute.
Now, Mr. Roth, did the FBI ever ask you to share information like users' communication data without going through proper legal channels?
No, they did not, and I would have refused if they had.
That's correct. I see that you denied Agent Chan's request for access to Twitter's data feed. What's sick isn't that you would deny it. It's that the FBI would even ask you for the private data of American citizens without going through legal channels of the law. Now, I want to remind you, Mr. Roth, that you are under oath. Did the FBI ever ask you to do anything that was illegal or questionably legal?
I'm not a lawyer, but certainly not to the best of my recollection or knowledge.
Now, from the hearing that I've been a part of today, it's almost impossible to tell where the FBI ends and where Twitter begins. We have Mr. Baker here, a former FBI agent, and there seems to be a revolving door between the FBI and Twitter itself. Even Mr. Baker said that there was no collusion with the federal government and Twitter. But Mr. Baker, that's you. You are the collusion between the federal government and the FBI. And now with it, this is such a problem because we're seeing censorship all over. Mr. Roth, Ms. Gaddy, did either of you approve the shadow banning of my account at Lauren Boebert? Yes or no?
No, I did not.
Not to the best of my recollection.
Well, let me refresh your memory, because on March 12th, 2021, and Mr. Roth, I know you looked at it because Fascist Twitter 1.0 had a public interest exceptions policy, which means for members of Congress to be shadow banned, it had to go before you, Mr. Roth. So I'll ask again, did you shadow ban my account? Yes or no?
Again, not to the best of my recollection.
So the answer is, Mr. Roth, yes, you did. I found out last night from Twitter staff that you suppressed my account for this tweet. It's a freaking joke about Hillary Clinton being angry that she couldn't rig her election. It's a joke. But in response, being the sinister overlords that you all are, you placed a 90-day account filter so I could not be found. And now we see here that Twitter staff said the visibility filter on my account excluded me from top searches, prevented notifications for non-followers, and much more. This is considered an aggressive visibility filter. You silenced members of Congress from communicating with their constituents. You silenced me from communicating with the American people over a freaking joke. Now, who the hell do you think that you are? Election interference? Yeah, I would say that that was taking place because of you four sitting here. The Hunter Biden laptop story was suppressed. A sitting member of Congress was suppressed. A sitting president was banned from Twitter. You know, I bet that Putin is sitting in the Kremlin wishing he had as much election interference as you four here today. We've heard about threats to democracy. Well, what about shutting down a duly elected member of Congress? This is fundamental to our nation's governance, and you all attacked that very foundation.
Pooh. So she said she wasn't mad at them, but you can see she's a little heated at their actions. And I would be too, wouldn't you? But how are we supposed to know that this is happening? Obviously, she's a congresswoman. She didn't even know this happened to her account. How are we at blue collar level, middle suburbia, supposed to understand that these things are going on? We don't. And like she pointed out, the greatest thing she pointed out is that being a congresswoman, she could reach out to Elon and she could say, hey, what's going on with all of this? We can't. We're not talking about revolution, revolt, all these things, snap the government back into play and make everybody work the way the American people feel. Because you know what? We all have a lot of opinions out there. And the problem with opinions is the fact that it can go the way certain people want and the way that other people don't. We need to have things that work together. That's why we have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights. It's why we have Congress and Senate and everything that helps work for us. But this FBI thing, this is getting out of control. Okay, we're finding out way too much about the FBI dipping their fingers into things where they don't really belong. I mean, I understand if you're making terrorist threats. I understand if you're screaming that you're going to harm people, that it should be flagged. But what I don't understand is all this information that's been handed over to the FBI, all the parts of if you go back and do a little bit of research with Whitney Webb, you'll find out that there's a corporation out there that started this thing that helped work with the government, and it was called Lifestyles. And Lifestyles was this wonderful thing that went through and had people working there that profiled Americans. And not just who you are, but your friends, where you go, what you do, things of that nature, called Lifestyles, right? American public found out about this, got really mad and had to shut it down. Okay, they screamed, shut it down. So they did. The day they shut it down, Facebook launched. It mirrors Lifestyles, except one major, major difference. You put the information in yourself. You share who your people are. You share where you go, what you've been doing, how your vacation went, who's over in France that you happen to be with and how they feel about things. That's the major difference between Lifestyles and Facebook. Now, getting back on topic about this whole thing about Twitter reaching in and censoring accounts. You know, President Trump was warning all of us what was going on with his accounts. Other people have been warning us what was going on with their accounts. And you know, the majority of all of us just sat back because what are we going to do? Take the day off work and go down to our local senator, wherever we live, and yell and scream at their office until they help us figure out how to get the message across that we don't want to be spied on by our own damn government? Is that what we're supposed to do? Write letters? Because you know what? It's the accountability that we're having problems with. That gentleman that you saw in there, Roth, he worked for the health and safety part of Twitter. He has no big decision makings on what is right and what is wrong. He can only advise. But it's funny how he was being contacted by the FBI and then they were turning off people's accounts. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, back to it. This next segment that we're going to roll, a little clip we got, is going to talk a little bit about accountability. There's going to be a couple of little parts in there that we're going to talk about at the end. So see you back in a couple minutes. Enjoy this clip.
So we have this tactical question coming up. We have FISA that is set to expire, and I believe we should let it. I believe the standard of violation of breach is so pervasive that the patient is not savable, that we have to design something totally different outside of 702. And then I have other colleagues who are like-minded in my desire to protect civil liberties, but who suggest tactically that the best approach is to try to insert strong warrant requirements. This is my 7th year in Congress, Mr. Kiko. I certainly don't have your experience, but I want to draw on it because I want to get your advice. I've gone down this road with the Cheneyistas and others who bring us to the precipice of reform, and then at the last moment, it seems as though the civil libertarians rarely prevail over those who purport to be defending national security, no matter how many violations of our liberties occur. And so, would you advise a reform effort or an expiration strategy, and why?
Well, I would. That's a very tough question, and I know that's why you ask it. And I can actually see my preference would be some kind of reform effort with teeth and accountability, because there hasn't been any teeth and there hasn't been any accountability in the oversight that's been conducted. We're always at the end of the system. They say they're going to do something. It never gets done. 4 years later, we find out there's massive violations. Everybody comes, well, we're going to do it this time. But there's no accountability among the people that are breaking the law. There's no accountability among the administration. It doesn't matter. There's nothing.
Yeah, it sounds like there need to be penalties. Thank you for your testimony. I yield back.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the gentlelady, the ranking member, Ms. Jackson-Lee.
And thank the witnesses very much. Just a slight moment down memory lane, Ms. Goteen. Something called COINTELPRO. I won't ask you to get in the weeds, but it was used extensively against Dr. Martin Luther King and the whole landscape of civil rights activists and workers to give minimal liberties to African Americans during the 1950s and 60s. And so here we are again.
Did you see what Gates had to say? That question that he asked? Pretty important. See, that guy Kiko, the thing about him was he happened to work with everyone, and part of his job was accountability. Okay, working up there on Capitol Hill. Part of his job was accountability. And so he knows what he's talking about when he was saying that here we go, we get near the 4 years and nothing's happening in the whole 9 yards and blah, blah, blah. You understood all that, right? Because we all feel that. We all wonder, why does nothing ever happen here? How come people are getting away with what they get away with and they're part of our government? You know, it doesn't make sense, right? Okay, back to it. There was a very important part in there, and that's when the other congresswoman was talking, and she said the things about Dr. King. Now, Dr. King was being monitored in the 50s and 60s by the FBI. Why do you suppose that was? Was he a radical? Was he a person? I mean, do you ever feel that Dr. King was a threat to America in any way? He talked about peace and humanity and bringing us together, and quit staring at our skin colors and start staring at our personalities, and help the world persevere through kindness and happiness. You know, and I'm not a person that runs around, you know, hugging everybody and thinking the world's a perfect place, but I can say this: he had a better message than anything we're hearing right now. And one of the things we are hearing right now over and over and over again is the fact that the FBI is dipping their fingers into everything that they shouldn't. Dr. King said, the only way that evil can succeed is when good men do nothing. So is that what we're doing? Nothing? We're letting this go? We how many years have we been hearing this? Since the election. Okay, remember that? 2020? We keep hearing how they're censoring accounts. They're going into Facebook. They're having these backdoor meetings, all these things that are going on. And why is nothing going on? Where's the accountability? I'm tired of seeing people standing up here and screaming, "Go Palestine," and all these other things when we're not even taking care of our home front. I'm just one person. This is my opinion. But unfortunately, I talk to a lot of people, and it's their opinion too. And it's not a cult and a following and a group. It's called American way of life. We want to be happy and comfortable. That's why we live here. And this FBI continuously dipping in, censoring things, blocking program content. How many YouTube channels have you seen demonetized? Wonder why that is. Okay, I understand if you're coming up with really crazy content and talking about, you know, supremacy of any type, black, white, green, I don't care what color you are. But if you're just talking about what's going on and there's a political party that's getting offended by it, oh, boo-hoo, then go home. You shouldn't be a part of politics. It's a hard job to begin with. And if you can't take it, and I won't mention people like Hillary Clinton, who gets her feelings hurt every time she's mentioned in a derogatory way. But if you can't take it, then don't be in politics, because it's one of the roughest jobs on the planet. Now, what we are saying here at MSA is pay attention. If you feel like you're being censored or anything, reach out, find out why. What did you say? What did you do? Why are you being censored? That's all we're saying. The whole point of this whole segment. Now, we got a lot more coming over to you later on today, tomorrow, tonight, whenever it happens, because we look forward to seeing you. And do us a favor, like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out. We're still continuing to grow, and we appreciate and love every single one of you. Have a great night, day, whatever it is.